Hello everyone, today we'll be seeing how fast Garchomp can beat Pokemon Omega Ruby in a solo run challenge. Let's get straight into the video. Earlier in the month we played this game with another Gray Dragon type, Hydreigon, and it did pretty dang good, but honestly, I think Garchomp might do better. But let's look at the stats first. We have 108 HP, 130 attack, 95 defense, 80 special attack, 85 special defense, and 102 speed. And just like Hydreigon, we are in the slow level up group, which is to be expected with stats like this. And another thing is actually our starting moveset is also very good. If you take a look, at level 5 we start with Sand Attack, Sandstorm, Dragon Rage, and Tackle. Sadly, if we want Fire Fang, we're gonna have to use a Heart Scale at the move relearner in Fall Arbor Town, but honestly, I'm not sure we'll even need that move. Plus, having early game Dragon Rage is gonna make the early game an absolute joke, and then throughout the remaining levels, we get Takedown at level 15, and then Dual Chop at 24, followed by Slash, Dragon Claw, Dig, Crunch, and Dragon Rush. And if we take a look at the TMs, we get all the fire type moves, the rock type moves, and the ground type moves, along with a couple others here and there. Plus, we get two great setup moves. We get Swords Dance and Hone Claws. Honestly, either one of these moves can help out. You can get the Hone Claws TM in the Slate Port Outdoor Market, and then you can buy Swords Dance from one guy in Lava Ridge Town. Well, not buy it, he gives it to you, but either way. Plus, as soon as we defeat Roxanne, we will get access to the Rock Tomb TM, and it was fortunate enough that starting Generation 6 is when Rock Tomb became pretty good. It went from a 50 power move with 80% accuracy in Gen 3 to 60 power and 95% accurate in Gen 6 onwards. So it's actually a very good move. Even though we don't get stabbed from it, it'll deal some pretty good damage. Plus, the thing is, as I mentioned earlier, having Dragon Rage at this point in the game essentially means we're one-shotting everything. But funnily enough, we're not going to be one-shotting Roxanne's Pokemon because both her Geodude and her Nosepass have Sturdy, so we are not going to one-shot those. But why don't we go head on over there and see how the fight goes. Roxanne leads off with her level 12 Geodude. I'm only level 8 for this fight. I end up going for one Dragon Rage and I forget it had Sturdy. I should have used one Tackle first, and then on the Nosepass, oh, the Nosepass doesn't have Sturdy in this game. Okay, never mind, it was just the Geodude. So yeah, very easy first gym badge. Plus, unlike the original games, you can't just skip Brawly until the 4th gym. You have to fight him second. And that would be a problem for some Pokemon, but it won't be a problem for this thing today. And while we make our way there, I'm going to talk about our ability, hidden power typing, and nature. Our ability is Rough Skin, meaning when the opponent hits us with a contact move, we'll deal a little bit of chip damage, which is nice, especially with bypassing Sturdy users. Plus, Rough Skin is actually its hidden ability. Its regular ability is Sand Veil, which gives it a bit of an evasion boost in Sandstorm. It's honestly not that useful of an ability in a solo run challenge, so I just went with Rough Skin. Our hidden power typing is Dark, which essentially means we're not using hidden power. With how bad our special attack is, it's also a great reason to run the Jolly nature. This gives us extra speed and lower special attack. Even though we have 102 speed, we're still in the slow level up group, so it's still good to get a speed boost. And then as soon as I get off the boat in Dewford Island, we're going to go take on Brawly right away. He leads off with Machop. I go ahead and use one Tackle first, followed by Dragon Rage, just because I don't have many Dragon Rages left, but that's fine though. On the Makuhita, I use Tackle on it. It hits me with a contact move, it gets some chip damage done to it with Rough Skin, and then Dragon Rage is able to do enough damage. So that is another easy gym badge. Then with Brawly defeated, I can go heal up at the center again, as well as getting this protein right here. This is a pretty great protein to get if you need physical attack, and even if you don't need physical attack, you can always sell this vitamin in Mauville City to purchase yourself a TM. There's plenty of useful TMs there, like Power Up Punch and Bulldoze, both of which are great answers for Wattson, and this thing can actually learn Bulldoze. And then as soon as I deliver the letter to Steven Stone, I'm going to fight all the trainers in the Soda House. There's actually a lot of trainers in the Soda House, and it's actually worth training there. And also, I didn't know this at the time, but on the beach here at the top left corner of the map, there's actually a PP up. I did not know this until a few days ago when Axew Kairisora was doing some Omega Ruby runs for fun, and he told me about this, and I'm like, oh, I did not know there was a PP up there. It does not exist in the originals, which is why I didn't know about it, but I'll definitely pick it up in runs going forward. And also, inside the Slateport Museum, while defeating the Magma Grunts, I get the chance to learn Takedown in the place of Tackle. Even though this is a recoil move, it's still far better than Tackle. And then, just before I leave town, I do go ahead and purchase the Hone Claws TM, as well as teach Rock Tomb to my Garchomp as well. Hone Claws will effectively just carry us until we get Swords Dance. At least having Hone Claws will make moves like Dragon Rush and Rock Tomb more accurate, especially Takedown as well, but we're not going to hold on to Hone Claws for much longer, at least until we get Swords Dance in Lava Ridge Town, which is basically right before the 4th gym. And I did go into the Trick House for 1 second because I didn't know if I'd want the Expert Belt, but I actually changed my mind at the last minute and I don't progress further. Then on the rival fight here, he leads off with Wailmer. I use a few Hone Claws for safety, and then once the Hone Claws are set up, I can just spam his entire team with Rock Tomb. Plus he does have Combuskin too, which is basically neutral because fighting resists rock, but the Shroomish ended up surviving a hit, and I ended up getting paralyzed. And fortunately for me, even though the Combuskin lived at what looks like 1 hit point, Roughskin was able to finish it off. And then, once I enter Mauville City, I can go ahead and sell some stuff here, and with that money obtained, I can purchase the TM for Bulldoze. This will be a very great same type attack bonus move until I get access to Dig and then Earthquake. So why don't we go ahead and use this move to completely destroy Wattson. Wattson leads off with his Magnemite, which does have Sturdy, but I do have a Cherry Berry equipped for this same reason, because it's usually going to get off a Thunder Wave, but then I'm like, wait a minute, I'm immune to Thunder Wave. There was literally no reason for this. So, yep, absolutely easy. Didn't even need to bother setting up anything. And I effectively wasted my time equipping that berry. Generally in Omega Ruby, I think it's better to get the Mach Bike, because unlike Emerald, you don't need to scale up Mount Chimney for anything, and there's rare candies locked behind the Acrobike and the Mach Bike, so you could honestly go either way, but I usually end up going for Acrobike first, then Mach Bike second, but honestly, I might just start getting the Mach Bike from now on, just because it is faster. And also, while I traverse through the terrain to get to Fall Arbor Town, I do get the TM for Secret Power, and the main reason I do this is because it is a very decent move to have at this point in the game. At least it's better than Takedown, but I'm actually not going to teach it right now. But eventually when I get Dig, I might swap over to that move. Which is exactly what I do. I delete Bulldoze and replace it with Dig. Even though Dig is a 2-turn move, well technically it's 1.5 turns because the second turn is pretty quick because you don't have to select a move again. I still prefer using this because it is 80 power. So I would honestly prefer the extra raw damage output. And I know technically someone's going to say, well, across 2 turns, it's 40 power each turn. Honestly, it's more like a 1.5 turn move. Your time loss is very minimal when using Dig. And besides, it'll get upgraded to Earthquake. Plus, Dig is a decent move to cheese the Norman fight. And now with the Meteor Falls section done, I can teleport my way back to Mauville City, make my way up Mount Chimney. I can take the cable car to get up here. And at the very top, we do have to take on Maxie though. I am normally worried about this fight, but I usually try to remember to grab a Person Berry outside the fiery path because his Mightyena does like to use Swagger. Unfortunately for me though, I actually forget to equip the Person Berry, and I do only get off 1 Hone Claws before getting hit with Swagger, and I do hit myself once when trying to use Dual Chop on the Camerupt. But you know what, that's fine though, at least I survived. And also, as a heads up, you can actually get the TM for Incinerate on top of Mount Chimney, but we have a bad special attack, and we really don't need it. And also, as soon as I enter Lava Ridge Town, I can get the Swords Dance TM, but something that really annoys me is you have to tell this guy no in order to get it. I really hate NPCs where you have to tell them no in order to get something you want, but it's fine though. I can go ahead and teach Swords Dance in the place of Home Claws. This will allow us to boost our attack stat much faster. So why don't we go ahead and test out this new move on Flannery. Flannery leads off with her Slugma. I go ahead and use one Swords Dance as the Slugma uses Sunny Day. I'm actually going to spam Dig here because while I'm underground, it does actually help stall out the sun, and by the time the Torque Hole comes out, the sun is actually gone. And I go ahead and just knock it out with 2 uses of Dual Chop. And fortunately, since the sun is gone, its Overheat doesn't do too much damage, and because of that, I'm actually able to defeat her pretty easily. And so far, Garchomp has 0 resets and 0 blackouts. Plus, as soon as I step out of the gym, Brendan here will offer to take me back to Petalburg, so we can go ahead and take on Norman immediately. Norman leads off with his Slacking. I did equip an Oranberry before this fight just in case. I do get hit with a Yawn, so I just used this opportunity to just set up another Swords Dance. And then unfortunately while I'm asleep, the Slacking encored me into spamming Swords Dance, but then eventually once the encore wears off, as soon as I wake up, which fortunately happens pretty quickly, I'm able to defeat his Slacking with Dual Chop. Then I go ahead and use Dig on the Vigoroth for the easy one hit. And then on the Slacking, I switch on back to Dual Chop, which Dual Chop actually has a better effective power. Well, both Dual Chop and Dig are 80 power, but at least since Dual Chop hits twice, it has the potential to get a crit on one of the 2 hits, which was basically the reason I went for it. And I beat Norman on the first try, just like all the other gym leaders. And then with Norman defeated, Wally ends up doing what Brendan did earlier, and he essentially teleports me to Mauville. And then once I teleport back to Mauville, I gotta go take on the Magma Grunts on the Mirage Island. Fortunately, there's no problems there, and I can get myself the free Latios. Latios is going to be great for Fly, Waterfall, and Dive. Plus, this Pokemon could learn Cut, but that duty goes to Zigzagoon. And then I can pick up some Citrus Berries as well. These are going to be very helpful for some of the upcoming fights. I tend to find Citrus Berries very useful in this run because of how harder in general the gym leaders tend to be compared to Pokemon Emerald. Plus, oftentimes, the extra amount of HP really does come through in a pinch. So now that we're up to Four Tree City, let's go ahead and take on the 6th gym leader, Winona. Winona can be a pretty tough fight in general. She leads off with her Swellow, which usually likes to go for double team Endeavor strats. I go ahead and use 2 Swords Dances, and I go ahead and use Dual Chop on it, which was kind of a mistake. I probably should have gone for Rock Tomb, but oh well. Dual Chop takes care of her Skarmory just fine. And then on the Skarmory, it is a 2-shot with Dragon Claw. Okay, I made a mistake earlier. It's Dragon Claw, not Dual Chop. They both look really similar. But anyway, Winona's a piece of cake. No need to talk about her any further. And then we gotta head our way towards Mount Pyre, and unlike the original games, I don't go step my foot into Lily Cove City first to set it as a fly point, because Captain Stern will actually take you on his boat to Lily Cove after you chase off the Magma Grunts who steal the submarine. So I can just head straight there, and if I need to heal, there's actually a Pokemon Center lady who will actually heal me, so that's actually quite convenient. Then I can climb up Mount Pyre, take on the Magma Grunts at the top, fortunately have a good time against Courtney, because usually the Courtney and Tabitha fights can go pretty bad if I'm weak to either fire or ground, but usually the camera up likes to waste their time with Curse. I remember when I did these playthroughs with Mawile and Sableye at the start of this year, and both those Pokemon struggled to the camera ups pretty dang bad, but then again my skill wasn't as good back then. And with Mount Pyre cleared out, I can head my way to Slateport, catch myself a boat ride to Lily Cove City, and then go take on the rival one last time. This rival fight was optional in the original games, but now it's mandatory, but at least the fight gives very good XP because all of the Pokemon here are fully evolved, including the starter. Who would have known that the rival would actually have a fully evolved starter, because that wasn't a thing in the original games. I am a little upset though that Brendan doesn't use Mega Evolution here, because at this point you would have received a Mega Stone based on whatever starter you chose. So I'm a little upset about that, but not a big deal though. I can go up into this house and get the TM for Rest. This is a generally pretty useful move for almost any Pokemon, and then I can go clear out the Magma hideout. And at the very end, I gotta take on 5 Magma Grunts at once with the 5 Poochyenas. I actually teach Surf with my bad special attack, literally for this one fight. I can just use Surf and one-shot everything. Although this was not a good decision. I should have taught Bulldoze, because now I cannot unteach Surf without the move deleter. So that was definitely a mistake on my part. But oh well, not a big deal. And then, as soon as I enter Mossdeep City, I could go take on Tate and Liza right away. But since I am in the slow level up group, and I do have to fly back to Pacific Log Town later during the Delta episode, which I do in all of my runs, I'm actually just going to go ahead and go over there, plus fight the trainers along the way too. A lot of the trainers on the Rapids routes, the route with the high flowing currents, are actually very good for training, so I may as well do a lot of it while I'm here. And unfortunately, by the time I finish all the training, I'm only at level 42. That's the problem with the slow level up group right there. But honestly, it'll be more than enough to take on Tate and Liza. Tate and Liza are not that great in this game, especially since spread moves like Surf only deal 3/4 of the damage, not half the damage like it did in the original Gen 3 games. So that's going to be a little bit of an issue on their part, but I still have Surf on the moveset. At least it'll help for this fight. So honestly, maybe teaching Surf wasn't the worst idea. Tate and Liza lead off with Solrock and Lunatone. I'm actually going to go ahead and use Swords Dance. I have no idea why I didn't just spam Surf. But anyway, since I used the one Swords Dance, I could just Dragon Claw to one-shot the Solrock, and unfortunately the Geodude is going to be gaining a bunch of experience it doesn't deserve. But that's fine though, I can defeat the Lunatone as well very quickly. Honestly, if I had to take a guess, I think Surf to each of them probably would have dealt around half, but I'm pretty sure they would have been guaranteed 2 shots, but who knows. But anyway, it's not like it matters right now. With 7 gym badges, we gotta go do some more Team Magma plotline, including inside the seafloor cavern where I gotta go take on Maxie at the end. But on my way there, I actually do get the TM for Earthquake. This move is effectively going to be one of my best moves. I go ahead and teach Earthquake in the place of Dig, and this new move is going to work wonders against Maxie. And also, if you're wondering where that one reset came from, I just noticed this during the voiceover. It was on the 5 Poochyeana Magma Grunts because I forgot to teach Surf. I forgot to mention that earlier. Oops. Anyway, for some reason on the second Maxie fight, his Mightyena doesn't have Intimidate anymore. And fortunately for me, it doesn't end up using Swagger, so I can use one Swords Dance for free, and then sweep the rest of his team with either Dragon Claw, and then for the Camerupt, Earthquake. And plus with Maxie defeated, we still have to take on Primal Groudon. I do mandate in my Omega Ruby solo runs that I do have to defeat the Groudon. I just think it makes the runs a little bit more interesting, and then that way I can actually save the Master Ball for the Rayquaza at the end of the Delta episode. And funnily enough, if I was playing Alpha Sapphire, I would not have this rule in place because Primal Kyogre would be almost impossible to kill with some Pokemon. The one thing that gives Groudon a chance of losing is he does have a 1 in 4 chance of going for Rest. So if you can get the Groudon to sleep, it could just waste its turns away. But I don't have to really worry about that. I actually use one Swords Dance, and it is going to be a 2-shot with Earthquake, and then it goes for Lava Plume, which actually ends up burning me, and I get all the way down to 2 hit points. But since Earthquake did so much damage, it doesn't matter that I'm burned. The second Earthquake actually knocks it out. So honestly, Garchomp was really close to getting a reset there, but fortunately it did not. So with Groudon defeated, we're going to have an easy gym battle against Wallace. The Wallace fight here generally isn't that hard if you remember a Person Berry. which I fortunately remember to do. I can just use Swords Dance on the Love Disc until it either uses Sweet Kiss or confuses me with Water Pulse. But honestly, one Swords Dance should be enough for everything, and I was 100% correct. Even if I was facing Juan in this game and not Wallace, where Juan has his Kingdra, I could just Dragon Claw the Kingdra, so it wouldn't really be that big of a deal. And then as soon as I beat Wallace, I can go ahead and get the HM for Waterfall. And now at this point, I can do my backtracking throughout the entire region and get all of the rare candies I need. Since I've been getting teleported all over the place, I haven't really done what I've been doing in the original Hoenn games and just picking up rare candies along the way. I generally save them all towards the end, and I can just pick up what rare candies I need. And also, after I pick up the Route 119 rare candy that needs the Acrobike, I actually go back to Mauville and I actually swap it out for the Mach Bike. There is a rare candy inside the Granite Cave that needs the Mach Bike, and fortunately for me, there's no cracked tiles or anything like that in the remakes, so it's just as simple as just going up and down some slopes. And also, at the move deleter, I get rid of Surf, and then I can head back to the move relearner and actually reteach Crunch. I had to deny learning this move by level up because I had Surf on the moveset, which was the reason I had to go get a heart skill for it. And then by the time I finish getting all the rare candies that I need, I have 7 rare candies, and I use them all to go from level 51 to level 58. We really don't need that high of a level for the Elite Four. And also, this run has been going so great, I actually keep forgetting to see where I'm getting resets. You see now I have a second reset. This actually wasn't on a trainer, it was in Wallace's gym because I messed up the ice puzzle. I decided to reset because if I had just messed up the ice puzzle and kept going, I would have had to fight a bunch of optional trainers, so I ended up resetting over that. But yeah, sorry, I'm just not good at keeping out for resets today, but fortunately I have the reset counters in the top left part of the screen. And fortunately for me, Wally does not end up giving me my 3rd reset, so as soon as I beat him, I can enter the Pokemon League. I heal up at the center, buy some full restores, and now, we need to go take on the final 5 trainers. Let's do this shit. The first member of the Elite Four is Sydney, the Dark-type user. He leads off with Mightyena, which sets up Intimidate right away. I do misclick and accidentally go for Crunch, and he does go for Swagger, but I prepared this time, and I actually had a Person Berry. So now with that, I have essentially +2 to my attack for free, but if I had just gone with Swords Dance, I could have had +4 to my attack. But honestly, +2, +4 doesn't really make a difference with this fight. Sydney was still pretty easy. Next up is the Ghost-type Elite Four member, Phoebe. She leads off with her first Dusclops. I can't use Substitute for this fight because Curse isn't blocked by Substitute anymore. Plus, even if it was, the Substitute TM is on a random Mirage Island, so it's essentially never possible to pick it up. And unfortunate for Garchomp, it actually does not go down to a Crunch, but thankfully, she actually goes for Confuse Ray instead, but I still get a reset anyway because the Dusknoir actually went for Curse because I hit myself in confusion. But on the second attempt, I actually do remember to equip a Person Berry. So now what I do is I go for Crunch, and if it goes for Confuse Ray, I'm fine, and then during the full restore, I can go ahead and use a Swords Dance. I could have just used Swords Dance turn 1, but I just go for a Crunch in case like I get a crit or something. But with +2 to my attack, there's no more threat from Phoebe. Next up is the Ice-type Elite Four member, Glacia. Glacia leads off with her first Glalie. I have a Citrus Berry equipped for any extra HP. I use one Swords Dance, and then it gets a critical hit Ice Beam on me doing half, but fortunately the Citrus Berry heals me up quite a bit. And then on her first Frostlass, since it has the ability Snow Cloak, the Hail actually gave it an evasion boost, and it actually managed to dodge my attack and knock me out with Blizzard. So there goes an actual reset that I actually kept track of. Thankfully though, on the second attempt, no shenanigans happen with Snow Cloak or freezes or anything like that, so I can quickly defeat Glacia and head to the 4th Elite Four member Drake. Drake leads off with Altaria. It does have Moonblast as well, which can do a lot of damage, but fortunately it just went for Dragon Pulse. Honestly, Dragon Pulse was its better move anyway because of Stab, but it's not like that really matters though. I used one Swords Dance to get to +2 and Sweep. Even though the Salamence has Intimidate, having +1 for everything else is still fine. Honestly, besides a hiccup at Phoebe and that actual honest-to-God reset at Glacia, this Pokemon has been doing pretty dang good. We're approaching Steven at roughly an hour 17 minutes into the run, which is kind of insane. And there's no need for a moveset overhaul, we're going to go take on the champion right away. Steven Stone leads off with Skarmory. I use one Swords Dance, it sets up spikes, and I actually go ahead and two-shot it with Crunch, but I do use another Swords Dance in between. Then on the Aggron, it does have Sturdy, so I do have to predict a hit, but check it out, Rough Skin actually helps with the Sturdy user, so it effectively is a one-shot. Then the Claydol goes down to Dragon Claw, the Armaldo goes down to Earthquake, and then the Cradily I switch on over to Dragon Claw. Then on the Metagross, it Mega Evolves, but that doesn't really matter. I one-shot it with Earthquake, and I finish the champion battle. However, I'm not done with the run yet. I end my runs at the end of the Delta episode when I defeat Zinnia. There's honestly only really two major fights that I like to talk about in this section. One is the obvious Zinnia battle at the top of the Sky Pillar, and also, in front of the Sky Pillar, you gotta take on Wallace with his Champion Emerald team. There are some occasional random trainers that could cause problems, but none of them do today, so we're just gonna skip straight ahead to the Wallace battle. He leads off with Wailord. I go ahead and use one Swords Dance, and I unfortunately forgot to heal. I didn't save before this fight either because I assumed I'd do just fine, so I end up having to black everything out. And honestly, nowadays, I didn't do this at the time, I actually now play with a software called PokeLink, which actually shows me my HP and stats during the run. I don't have it on my overlay, I don't plan to just because it looks ugly, but if I had had PokeLink at the time, I would have known I wasn't at full HP. When I do get back to Wallace though, I go to what I was doing, I go use one Swords Dance, it hits me with Blizzard doing more than half, and I'm just hoping one Swords Dance is going to be enough. I used all of my rare candies before the Victory Road, and I'm only level 66 for this, which isn't as high as most Pokemon would like to be, but fortunately, Garchomp is an absolute beast, and it doesn't really matter that it's a lower level, although, just ignore that blackout I had, that was completely my fault. And then at the very top of Sky Pillar, we gotta go catch Rayquaza with the Master Ball, and we can't just send it into the PC like we could with Xerneas in Pokemon X, or with Reshiram in Pokemon Black. We actually have to have it in our party, and it has to be in slot 1. So what I do for Zinnia is I swap turn 1 to a Zigzagoon, let it get killed by the Goodra, then I can do the fight for real. So why don't we go start the fight for real. Zinnia leads off with Goodra, and as soon as Garchomp is sent out after Zigzagoon dies, the only moveset overhaul I have is I now have Rest on the moveset in the place of Crunch. This is going to allow me to set up Swords Dances on the Goodra, plus heal up my HP if I need to. And I actually have a Citrus Berry equipped instead of a Chesto Berry, but when I saw how much damage that Goodra did with Ice Beam, I just had to move on. And I just had to hope that +2 was enough, because as soon as the Salamence comes out, I'm only going to have +1 to my attack. But since I mentioned at the Wallace fight that Garchomp is such a beast, even +1 was enough. So honestly, there was no point in even teaching Rest. So with the Mega Salamence defeated, Garchomp can finally clock in, with a real time of 1 hour, 36 minutes, and 1 second. with 4 resets and 1 blackout at level 67 with a game time after the credits of 6 hours and 27 minutes. So yeah, just like Hydreigon, Garchomp did exceptionally well in this game. If honestly, it didn't get that blackout because of my incompetence as well as a couple of resets, this Pokemon could have done even better. But honestly, maybe I'll re-rank it in the future, but who knows, this was still overall a very, very good run. Even if I had prevented those earlier resets, who knows, I might have an unlucky Phoebe and it goes for Curse 3 times in a row. You honestly never know with her. But anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed this run. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more, and be sure to follow me on my socials or support the channel through YouTube memberships. YouTube members not only get access to the patch files for all the backport Pokemon we do on stream, plus every now and then I will upload members-only solo run re-ranks. I actually record these in my Discord server and people are free to come by and chat, and I will record the videos of those and put them on the channel as members only. It's a completely different feeling from the streams. It's a lot more laid back and casual. So I hope you all enjoy those. If you want to see them, become a member today. Anyway, tomorrow we'll actually be playing Pokemon Crystal with this thing. So yeah. I essentially did Pokemon Crystal this month with 2 of my biggest meme Pokemon, Quagsire and the P-word. But anyway, I'll see you tomorrow as we continue Daily December. We're almost at December 25th. We just have the 22nd, the 23rd, and the 24th. Then on the 25th, I'll be showing off a very unique video. But anyway, I will see you tomorrow as we continue Daily December.